Yeah, I was watching the Black Panther movie, the new one. Oh, Wakanda Forever. Wicked movie. Long, but wicked, wicked movie. Loved it. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. This video is about the K-3 Mark III with firmware update 1.70, which is an absolute game changer, especially if you're shooting portraits. You can now pre-select your autofocus point while you're shooting in landscape orientation. Let me grab the camera here. And yes, I have it connected to the computer, which you'll understand why in a second. But you can have it in landscape orientation, rotate to portrait orientation, and the autofocus point will remain in the same relative location because you've pre-selected where it will be. So your composition will remain the same no matter which way you're actually flipping this. To give you a very quick example, let me fire up the screen here. And look at where the autofocus points actually are. And yes, that is a new mode, select extra small. And it actually does make a difference, which I will also demonstrate in a second. So I'm gonna rotate the camera from landscape orientation to portrait orientation. And notice that the autofocus point jumps from one to the other. Now, if you were to rotate the select extra small, then you would see that the autofocus point actually is remaining in the exact same location. So no more focus and recompose. You can leave the autofocus point where it is, rotate the camera, and just focus on taking the shots. Absolute game changer. It's wicked. I love it. Absolutely love it. PENTAX ain't sleeping. They've been actually putting in some work. It actually works better than I thought it would. But going back, so basically all you need to do is go in the menu and go into camera, autofocus with Viewfinder. And within here, you've got your autofocus active area. You now have the selection of extra small on top of the originals. And you have your autofocus point for horizontal, vertical composition. So I have it set to individual, and this is where you can actually set your reference position. So you would go into that menu, and then you would just move. Let me go back in there actually. And you would go back in to that mode. Where are we? Oh, there we go. It's a little delayed, so I keep pressing too many buttons at once. And from here, you can basically, you just move it around. And as you move it around, that is where the focus point would initially start when you go into that mode, which is a nice thing too. It actually remembers. And then you just press the joystick button in and it recenters it and you're good to go. And so you set each one individually. So you've got your horizontal and then you have your vertical. And they actually have it laid out the way it should be. So you can set that one. All right, I'll just hit OK. We'll leave that just to show you how it would look. And then say I want this to be pretty much the same. Hit OK. Go back to vertical. And there you go. You've got pretty much the same autofocus points. All right, go back up. I don't want to mess up my stuff. Recenter, or you can press the green button to recenter. Doesn't matter. And yeah, that's it for that one. And then in live view, it's the same thing. Live view, you can, well, it's going to be a bit difficult to show here, but let's move that all the way over. So I'm in landscape orientation. Now let's go to vertical orientation, and you'll notice the autofocus point moved back to the center because I have not adjusted that one. So that's pretty sick. It's pretty sick. And yeah, and then there's the focus limiter option, which only works with the HD 100mm f2.8 macro AW lens. I do not have that, so I can't show you that one. And I do not have the HD 35 macro or the 31, I believe it was, for the winter custom image. I don't have those lenses either, so I can't show you that. But what I can show you is the 1.7 time crop mode. So with the 1.7 time crop mode, Unfortunately, you cannot actually set that up on a button. You have to go into the menu. So let's just so I'm using the DA Star 1650 PLM at 16 millimeters. This is the full view. This is the 1.3 time crop. And now let's open up the control panel and do the 1.7 time crop. And then let's go back to 1.3 and full. So it is a pretty big deal, pretty big difference. It's actually, I think it's a game changer. Now, in regards to how this, have there been improvements in the actual autofocus itself? That I don't know. I am going to be testing this out just to see. However, the extra small, let me show you an image I got. I was focusing in between. Actually, before I do that, okay, so here is an example of the orientation and autofocus location using this new selectable portrait and landscape orientation autofocus thing. So that was the landscape, and this was the portrait. And you want to see something else that's cool? I'm going to now hold the camera in portrait orientation, and you will see the preview change. It'll actually rotate. Okay, it doesn't actually rotate. All right, it doesn't rotate when you're doing a live view. That was a fail. Huh, so it only rotates on the back of the screen itself. That's it, eh? Interesting. I can show you that another time. But let's go to where I actually did shoot the spot. So I was focusing on that needle in the center, the yellow needle, and it missed. It was grabbing the edges of the coaster and the remote. So what I did was I switched over to extra small, and then I shot it again. And look at that. Nailed it. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So that is the game-changing firmware update from PENTAX. Came as a surprise, was not expecting this much elevation in regards to capability. But for K3 Mark III owners, and especially K3 Mark III owners that also happen to have the HD31 Limited and the HD35 Macro Limited, and the HD DFA 100mm macro f2.8 PLM AW, you guys are set. You guys get all the bells and whistles that they unlocked. But I'm happy with the autofocus improvement in regards to the extra small option, just to be able to pinpoint that specific autofocus spot, as well as the 1.7 time crop. I think can be very handy. It's perfectly fine for digital uploads to social media, and it also allows you to punch in. Yeah, so that and that whole portrait landscape orientation shooting thing, no more worrying about the composition. It's already preset. You just tell the focus point where to be, and you just need to focus on rotating the camera and just taking the shot, and you're done. So yeah, beautiful job, PENTAX, beautiful job. And that's going to be it for this video. If you like that video, leave a like. If you have not already, please do subscribe. If you don't like the video, then, do whatever you're going to do. I'm not going to judge. Yeah, but if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. If you want to support the channel, that info's down at the bottom of the description. That's it. This is going to be so sick to really test out. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to go. You'll see me on my next video. I'm out.